Well, Dana York's our next speaker. Please help me and join me in welcoming Dana. Dana received his master's in botany from CSU Fresno and his BS in forest natural resource management from Humboldt. I took out the Cal Poly part, Dana. For over 30 years, he's worked on floristic and special status plant species throughout California and Oregon on both public and private lands. He's the author of an illustrated flora of Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, and has discovered new plant species in Oregon, Cascade, Klamath, and Sierra Nevada ranges, and while the botanist at Death Valley National Park. He retired in 2021 after 25 years with Caltrans and is now a botany research associate with the California Academy of Sciences. He also teaches botany workshops in the Mojave, Sierra Nevada, and Klamath, and today Dana's going to describe new taxa from the Marble Mountains.
All right. Thanks, Len. Thanks, everybody. You've already heard a little bit about the marbles, so I'm just going to continue on that theme. This photo is actually, when I first worked in the marbles, was actually 1981 as a wilderness ranger intern. And that was the regular wilderness ranger, Christy, coming up the trail from Marble Valley. But I'm going to go through the slides of the marbles, the scenery, and some of the species pretty quick before I get to the new species, because I got way too many slides. I always do that, so we'll see how this goes. I'm already pushing the wrong button. All right, the Marble Mountains, way up there in Northern California, which is, we're in Northern California here, so that's a good thing. That doesn't show the Trinity Alps, but that would be just south of the marbles, and then the Russian Wilderness is also south and a little to the east of the Marble Mountains. All right, I'm going to move through quick. This is also from 1981, picture of Christy, the wilderness ranger, at Cliff Lake. There's over 80 lakes in the wilderness. Just real quick, show of hands, how many people have been in the Marble Mountain Wilderness? All right. Wow, that's a good bunch. Great. Okay. Well, it started in 81, but then it went into 1982 with a really dumb idea to go cross-country skiing into Marble Valley and go back to the cabin in Marble Valley, because 1982, that year, 81, 82, was the wettest on record for the Klamath Mountains, in recorded time. So yeah, you're going to see what we were dealing with. We had the cabin there at Marble Valley. We were getting in and out of the attic. So yeah, it wasn't the best idea. This photo is great here of the cabin because you can see the wolf lichen on the Shasta red fir next to the cabin. You can see that's the average depth during the winter. That's about 4 or 5 feet. And then add another 5 feet or more to cover the cabin. That's what we were dealing with. So not a great idea, but I wasn't doing that much botany back then, but since 2011, I've been doing a lot more, and I've been compiling a flora. So I do plan on publishing the flora of the Marble Mountains. Right now, we got 900 native plants, and unfortunately, I wanted to say there's about 75 ranked plants, California rare plant ranked, and then there's 50 non-natives like this prickly lettuce, Latuca cereola, which really is bothering me to see how much of it I'm seeing in burned areas. I mean, when I was out of Fresno, and I went to Fresno State, I would see this in the sidewalk of the street. I didn't see this up in the natural habitats. Well, I'm seeing this now a lot in natural habitats, and especially in the marbles. So it's worrying me a little bit. Okay, well, doing the flora and checking all this out all started with Jim Shevok and Martin Hutton back in 2011 when it was me sticking my head into a marble cave and my feet sticking out. Hopefully, if I got stuck, someone would see my feet kicking. That I found this little moss, this little Soligeria doniana, and it turns out this thing was only previously known from Washington, Montana, and Colorado. So first occurrence in California. And I showed it to these guys. They knew exactly what it was. I was really impressed. Like, what? It's not even from California, and you know what this thing is? It was pretty impressive. And then that same day, here's the range. So that same day, then I collect this guy, Carex nardina, first occurrence in California. It's like, what? This place is great. One day I'm getting these 2 new species. Whoa, for California? Yeah, I got to do more here. So this thing was only previously known, again, same kind of range, Washington, Utah, Montana, Colorado. And this was on Black Marble Mountain. All right, there's a little closer look at it. It's really cool. Little calyx. All right, so, you know, it started, and it started getting collecting permits and stuff, and here's me collecting first occurrence of Heterotheca oregana on Woolly Creek. This was actually just a couple of years ago, but really we started, you know, doing the flora 2011, but you know, there were some other projects I had in there too that kept me busy. This is actually a video that I'm probably not going to play because I'll run out of time if I play all these, but this is Marble Rim, and you're going to hear a little more about Jepson here in a second, but Jepson called this Marble Crater, which is interesting. So I've looked at his notes, and he called this Marble Crater, which is kind of a cool name for it. Oh, here's yeah, I'm not going to keep going on that. All right. I know I had some bad luck with doing these symposiums with videos in the past, so I'm not going to relive those. There was the one with a boat I was reminded about yeah. Anyway, okay, we're moving right along. So the geology is cool. It's a mishmash. There actually is a pretty good amount of granite, but you have to know where to go to find it. Yeah, and as far as the marble limestone, it is very small amount of the wilderness. Anyway, this map just kind of shows a jumble of the plutons and stuff. But basically, you have metamorphic rock, and you have intrusive rock, and, you know, including some serpentine. And then this is a nice, what I call it is a fruit salad. And here's your fruit salad right here. But the green part of the fruit salad is mainly your metasedimentary and your metavolcanic rocks. You have a little group, you know, the granitic stuff starting on the left side. And then over as you get farther to the east, this is our cross-section through Marble Mountain from west to east. And as you get to the east side on the right, then you start getting into some serpentine, which gets pretty cool too. All right, low elevation, Woolly Creek. It goes down to about 300 meters, 1,000 feet, a little bit less, but you get into your hardwoods and such down there. It's a video too, but we're going to move on. All right, Boulder Peak's the highest point at over 8,000, and then subalpine, all the subalpine habitat you see here is pretty neat, and including the marble. And then you get species like this, the split hair paintbrush. This is endemic to the Klamath Mountains. Pretty cool. And, you know, it turns out this thing is on the marble. Right there it isn't. That's on some metavolcanic probably. But it does really like serpentine as you go up into the Siskiyou Mountains. And the Siskiyous are a subset of the Klamaths, so it's kind of saying the same thing if I'm saying Klamath or Siskiyou. It's all the Klamath Mountains, Klamath Ranges. All right, Boulder Peak. This photo is actually from Boulder Peak. Yeah, view from Boulder Peak, and just a good snow year. So this wasn't bad to see that much snow. And this last year was pretty good, but the year before not so great up there. The ABC Lakes. So the reason I have this in there is to show you some of the serpentine areas. That's Red Rock and the ridge that goes towards Boulder Peak. And the ABC Lakes are Aspen, Buckhorn, Chinkapin, Dogwood as you come closer. Anyway, the Pacific Crest Trail, there's 32 miles of the Pacific Crest Trail that goes through it. And what you're seeing in the background, that pluton is Heather Lake pluton, and that's all granitic type of rock. You know, it's like granodiorite or whatever. I call it granitic, but which is a good generic term for it. Some of the cool things at the lower elevations is the Erebus modesta. It's pretty much an endemic. It may actually go into the Coast Range, North Coast Range, but that's not for sure. Those are the same. Tracy's Colomia, beautiful plant. I actually find this not only in the lower elevations, but find it up higher. And the CRPR means California Rare Plant Ranked, if you don't know what the CRPR means on that. Isinglass Lake, a fabulous spot. Jim, I know, really loved this spot when I took him there. It's a floating bog, and on the shoreline there, this is all floating, so you're walking on it. You know, if cattle got in here, it would be ruined. So this is not a place you would ever want to put any cows. Thank God they're not getting in there, because there are cattle in the wilderness. That plant in the foreground is actually slender cotton grass. It's Eriophorum gracili. It's the only place in the Klamath Mountains that thing occurs, is right there at Isinglass Lake. And look what else occurs there, Drosera, Anglica. So this thing's pretty, the range is circumboreal, but But I believe this is the only Klamath Mountain location. Again, Isinglass Lake. Cool spot. All right, lots of foxtail pines. They're pretty much Klamath Mountain endemic. May go into the North Coast Range a little bit, but white bark pines, they're not endemic, but they're just really cool. Subalpine tree. You got some old white barks up there. They kind of stay around even after they die for a long time. And hopefully they're not all dying off. I know there's been a lot of studies going on all over the West about what's happening with white barks. That is actually Lower Right Lake. This is, again, from the Boulder Peak area looking down. Aspen Lake, when I showed you the ABCD lakes, that's the first one, Aspen. This area I need to go into much more to collect. I haven't, unfortunately. That's an older photo before I was collecting. Pacific silver fir, this is the largest stand of them in California. This sucker's a relic, and it occurs again up in the Siskiyou Mountains, but that's it, and it's not a big stand like this, which is around English Lake area. Here's why it's different than white fir, just a lot shorter needles. And they tend to be notched, where white fir can be notched or they can be acute. And here's the bark, which is a lot lighter than what a white fir would normally have on a mature tree. Pretty cool tree. Weeping spruce, these are awesome. Okay, that's 5 minutes left. Oh, shoot. Okay, I'm going to go really fast. Here's some, here are more endemics, just more of the scenery. Wiggins lily, subalpine firs. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. But just, I'm going to give you a feel, the ambiance of the wilderness. And this, of course, what you saw some of this from Jim's talk, just really awesome. This anemone, which is in both North America and South America, and only in the Marble Mountains in California. You know, like, what's that? You know, and this thing's possibly only there. It may be in the Trinity Alps, maybe a Lassen. Tufted sax. This thing is only other place in California is in Warner's, and then circumboreal, this saxifrage. All right, I got to get to the species. And this was a new species just described, the stone crop, but I got to move on. Okay, here we go. Alliums, new species. In the abstract, it says Siskiyou. I have Siskiyouense, I have falcifolium, but I was talking about Klamathense. Well, there's no more Klamathense. Turns out what I thought was a new species, this thing that says demissum is what I thought was new. Well, it turns out that I was scooped on that, and that's this onion. It's definitely different. And this is Emily, my collaborator on working on the onion. Emily how do you say her name? Magdagny. Okay, thank you, Emily. So this is the habitat we found. It was originally found in that onion I showed you pictures of. And so what she looked at a bunch of sheets, and I did too. I looked at Humboldt. She looked at them at Cal Academy. And it turns out that, that a lot of people had called what we found Siskiyouense. So, okay. So we looked at all the Siskiyouense, and we found which ones were actually what looked to be new. Well, come to find out, it wasn't just Siskiyouense. People were calling it falcifolium, too. And a guy called Willis Jepson in 1907 found it in the Marble Mountains and named it falcifolium variety demissum. And then this thing, somebody lumped it into Siskiyouense at some point along the way, and it got lost forever until now. So come to find out, Jepson scooped me on this one. So the name will be recombined into being Allium demissum. And here's his original description, handwritten description with the type specimen. That's pretty cool that he wrote down. And I'll use some of this, and this will be in the paper that we're doing, that Emily and I are doing. All right, doing some statistical analysis of variance work it's actually perianth length, shouldn't be corolla length. Sorry for the mistake. It's perianth length. And it turns out that demissum, the thing that now we're going to call demissum, and then the type specimen, falcifolium demissum by Jepson, turns out those are not statistically different on the perianth lengths, but falcifolium siskiyouense are, and falcifolium and siskiyouense are not different from each other. And I'm not even sure those are things. I'm thinking what's happening here with falcifolium siskiyouense is that falciparum is hybridizing with demissum and making insiscuence as a result of that. I'm not even sure siscuence is a real taxon, to tell you the truth, but that's what's coming out of this. Or hopefully we'll get some molecular work that will be done. Collecting the type for the other thing I found up there, I know I'm going to go into the question part a little bit, is that's also a video. Let's see, it's going to go.
PCT botanist.
Yeah, that's why I'm on Instagram.
July 13th, 2023.
I might play this.
And I'm making another type collection up on the edge of Marble Mountain Wilderness.
Yeah.
And I'm also PCT botanist on Instagram.
I said that already.
And I'm going to post this to Instagram. So I'm
Age, I'll tell you.
Type.
But check out this habitat for this draba.
Fruits, I just said white flowers. Type for this.
Check this thing out. It's a little cushion plant. These crevices. This is the stuff that Jim Shivak really loves too, I'll tell you. Good place for good mosses.
It's got some fruits. That means I can collect it.
Yeah, this is this year. I got fruits this year. There's the notes you got to be taking.
I've got a little packet.
Okay, enough of that, dude. All right, so we got Cercocarpus up there too. It's a pretty cool spot. So this new thing, it's a beauty. It's going to be draba, and what I want to name it is Somnia because I found it on Snoozer Ridge. It's a really cool plant. Jerry, these are the fruits from this year. Not many. I couldn't find many. There's only like 10 clumps of this thing. I could even find it all. And it's white. So the only other white one that's kind of like it is this Draba breweri in the Sierra Nevada. That's it. Okay, other cool things to be found. Cliff maids. Okay, this is Lewisia cotyledon. Beautiful. It's all over the place up there. Uh-oh, time for questions. Oh, yeah, I already knew that was going in the questions. All right, this thing, I've heard from some botanists that know about this other Lewisia that's never been named. And I have found it in the Marble Mountains now. It might be named Chlamythensis at some point if somebody does work on it, but there's an idea for anybody who want to work on Lewisias, which we're going to hear about Lewisias here in a second. Anyway, it's a real beauty. Okay, thank you for everybody that helped. And I also got a Dean Taylor Botanical Exploration Memorial Award. Thank you for NCB, Northern California Botanist. And also new books, 2 books out, Southern California Guide, Pacific Crest Trail. And I got a thingy up there with a dinosaur. That's not to say I'm a dinosaur, but I might be. Anyway, the Northern California book is for sale, but not ready to ship. The Southern California book, yeah, shipped. Okay, one question only. Is there anybody out there with a question? I know it was a lot. I went through that quite a bit. Some people are going to come on my workshop, so then I'll slow it down, I promise. Okay, there was no I won't. Yeah, you might be right on that. Was that Allison? Thanks, Allison. Yeah, she's been on 1 or 2. Oh, over there? Okay.
Hi, Dana. Thanks for the talk. This was awesome. I have a question for you. So doing all these like backcountry botanical excursions, how do you juggle all the gear? Like, I'm sure like maybe you're backpacking and like camping, but also collecting a bunch of plants.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that?
You need Sherpas. Yeah, and that's usually like young, graduate students and things like that. Yeah, there's that. And the other thing is just I have to, tough it out. Well, here's the thing with the cameras. I used to carry a big 35 millimeter. I know I got to go. And I'm now just using my iPhone 15, which Pro, which has a great camera. So forget that big old 35 millimeter now. So yeah, those kind of changes help too. Getting lighter gear.
Great.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Thanks, everybody.